Thought I was paused, didn't you? I was super smooth right there. Super smooth. All right, so anyways, I know you missed my pretty face. Missed these videos. Videos. It's like MTV up in this piece. Couple things real quick. You should have already uploaded your newsletter. That's a test grade. So if you haven't done it, you need to do it. If you haven't done it, you need to do it. If you haven't done it, you need to do it. It's a test grade. Hope that got through to you. Also, you should have handed in the 20 facts on the worksheet over Apocalypto. Stapled to that, you should have the story pretending to be Jaguar Paul. So if you haven't done those things, you don't have time in class to do them, but if you need a little time to staple them and get them handed in, go ahead and do that. Pause it, and then come on back. Come on back. Come on back. Super smooth. Then we're going to move on to Lesson 5, Early Mesoamerican Cultures. We're going to learn about the Mayans here on page 20, Roman numeral 3. That's why you had the opportunity to watch Apocalypto, studying the cultures in between North and South America, Meso, Middle, and just kind of learning about how they lived. The learning target for today is describe the Mayan culture. You can use the lesson that we're going to go through today or the movie. Just needs to make sure that it's 3 sentences, 3 facts. No current events, so all you need is the date, learning target, describe the Mayans, and the answer. All right, moving on. Well, wait. Pause it. Get that done, and then come on back. All right, the Mayans. As early as 900 BC, the Mayans began to settle the Yucatan Peninsula, which is in present-day Mexico. So if you want to look up a map and see where the Yucatan Peninsula was or is, it's in the present-day Mexico. The Mayans are going to reach its height or its peak between AD 300 and AD 900. So probably that would be a good representation of the movie. They were at their height, just about to fall. They were very powerful, strong, great warriors, had large civilizations. Before we move on to B, I'm going to have you guys make a timeline just to give you a good idea of the time period. So right underneath A, all the way across from page to page, I want you to make those 3 dates using 500 pieces. So you're going to start at minus 1,000, not necessarily minus 1,000, but it's going to be 1,000, 500, 0, 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. And then I want you to indicate 900 BC on it. I want you to indicate AD 300, AD 900, and the year of today, 2012. And that's just going to give you a general idea of how long ago this was. So go ahead and get that chickadee chick timeline done. Letter B. The Mayans are going to adapt to their various environments, developing different farming practices, languages, and governments. Define the word adapt. So right there, go ahead and define that. So the Mayans are going to adapt very well to those things. The Mayans were not unified in one empire. Instead, the patchwork of city-states and kingdoms were linked by culture, political ties, and trade. So it wasn't just one big Mayan culture. They had a lot of different tribes all over. Letter C. Religion was at the center of Mayan life. The Mayans believed in 2 levels of existence. One level was the daily physical life they lived. The second level was the other world, a spiritual world, people with gods, the souls of ancestors, and other supernatural creatures. So they had 2 levels. One was how they lived, their physical being. The other was the other were their supernatural creatures, the spiritual world, the gods. I want you to look at letter C there, and then underneath it, I want you to put that in your own words. Do it. Do it. Do it. Letter D. Mayan kings were spiritual leaders as well as political leaders. So very different than what we would have a leader today. Our leaders wouldn't necessarily be a spiritual leader as much as a political leader, but Mayan kings were both. They were responsible for their people understanding of the other world, such as the gods, the supernatural creatures, and for their behaving in ways that could keep the gods pleased. Rulers performed rituals and ceremonies to satisfy the gods, and which obviously seen in Apocalypto exactly how they did that on top of the pyramids. At the very bottom there on page 20, I want you to research some of these rituals and ceremonies and describe one of them. So look up Mayan rituals or ceremonies, indicate one of them, and describe that at the very bottom of page 20. All right. Page 21. 21, amigo. Ha ha! Human sacrifices and bloodletting rituals were part of the Mayan practice. These ceremonies considered important to appease the gods and maintain and renew life. Again, very similar to what we watched in Apocalypto. So thinking about the death penalty or thinking about death or just thinking about all those types of things in general, below letter E, I want you to write, do you think this is different than the death penalty? Explain. So think about what they were doing in Apocalypto. They were sacrificing the gods, or sacrificing for the gods, for the better good. Here in the United States, we still have the death penalty, lethal injection, electrocution. Do you think the rituals of the Mayans were any different than the death penalty today? Explain. Letter F. The Mayans also developed accurate calendars, a 260-day calendar and another 365-day calendar. The calendars were predicted to use eclipses, schedule religious ceremonies, and determine times to plant and harvest. How many days does our calendar have? Excuse me, I was reading my handwriting. I don't have very good handwriting. So just below that, how many days does our calendar have? All right, so the Mayans had a 260-day sacred calendar, and they had a 365-day calendar as well. How many days does our calendar have? Just put it down below. Letter G. By 8900, the Mayan and the lowlands showed signs of collapse. They stopped building and moved elsewhere. Why this happened is unclear. There is evidence of increasing conflict and warfare among Mayan royal and non-royal families. So remember, we talked about the Mayans weren't unified. There were lots of small patches of them all over. And so one of the opinions of professionals would say that they started to fight one another. Also, you remember in Apocalypto, that little girl that was sick? A lot of people would say that they came down with a lot of disease. Letter H. Outsiders were also attacking. Agricultural breakdown, perhaps caused by warfare or by erosion and over-farming, may have produced rising malnutrition, sickness, and death rates, like I alluded to before. Right underneath letter H, give one other reason why you think the Mayans left or moved. Do research if needed. So you can choose one of the ones we've talked about, or an additional one, or just an opinion that you might have. Why did the Mayans just disappear? You know, they vanished. Go ahead and get that done. Letter Roman numeral 4, other Mesoamerican. So other Americans that lived in the middle. I want you to read through letters A, B, and C, and I want you to read and annotate on your own. So you do what you think is necessary. You define what you think is necessary, and highlight, underline anything that you need. Now, as soon as you're done with that, the lesson 2 review you can cross off. On the page 22 for the notes summary, what I want you to put there is I want you to write your 3 sentences that you posted on Edmodo about the Mayan calendar. So whatever you wrote on Edmodo there, you can write on the notes summary, because I basically just wanted you to do additional research on the Mayan calendar and discuss it. So you can do additional research and write an additional 3 sentences, or you can just copy what you wrote on Edmodo and write it there. For the picture, you should have already had a picture of the Olmec god. And then down below, For the unit exam, I should know. In that box, I want you to write down 3 of the most important facts from Lesson 5 in complete sentences, okay? So they have to be in complete sentences for you to get full credit. I think that's about it. Then we're going to move on to Lesson 6. We will probably start Lesson 6 tomorrow, so you need to have Lesson 5 completely finished. Basketball stud. Lesson 5 finished. Need to have that newsletter finished. Need to have that Apocalypto worksheet and story completed. We're moving right along, folks. Got to use your time appropriately. What else? That's about it. My friends, we are leaving. We are going home.